Here in like the more recent weeks, especially on live streams, less so in content, but more so on live streams and things, I've been kind of critical of Square Enix's direction or lack thereof, or what's going on with the company, but truth is they are at the middle of yet another power structure recycle. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit, but I was cautiously optimistic for things for Tokyo Game Show this weekend, and with just cause. Like there were a number of things they could have shown this weekend, which they didn't. But so it made me kind of reassess where I am as a fan of this company and kind of where my fandom is right now. And at the end of the day, who cares? It's just one guy's opinion. This guy, right? I'm just one of millions of people who enjoy their content, enjoy their games and stuff like that. But this is just my take. Take it or leave it. You can agree with it. You can disagree with it. You can talk about it in the comments. It's whatever. This is just my slice of thought cake that I wanted to put out there. I feel like Square Enix is kind of readjusting their priorities. And when I say that, I don't mean just like the type of games they're working on. I mean like their expectations. I feel like this company is readjusting what their expectations are for sales, for amount of content they want to put out, amount of games they want to put out, what kind of games they want to put out. And I think we're starting to kind of see that. Like the games they're choosing to remaster, they're choosing to remake. Dragon Quest VII here was the big thing they kind of went in on for Tokyo Game Show this weekend. And they did address other titles and games, but this is the one they seem to kind of really be going in on right now. So I want to talk about this for just a few minutes today and kind of get your all's take and perspective, because this is a community here. What I talk a lot about, the C in all this, right? The community, and that's what this channel is all about, and that's why I produce on this channel. Is like I love being a part of the JRPG community. A lot of that's Square Enix, but there are a lot of other great companies doing great things right now. And that's why I wanted to address this, because I see Atlas, Nihon Falcom, other companies out there, even Konami, kind of getting back into the swing of things, which we thought that company was DOA, and they were for a while. But Square Enix, the choices they've made lately are puzzling, because I'm not even talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff. I'm not even addressing that. Like, we'll talk a little bit about it, but they've got Square Enix. I'll get right to it. They have so many titles that they could be working on. They have so many IPs that fans are just clamoring for. And we've talked about it a lot of live streams. And we've talked a lot about it over the last couple of years. Chief among those for me is Chrono Trigger. Why have we not gotten a new Chrono Trigger game? Now you've got Humble Games that have come out with this something of time. I forget the name of the game. But it's Chrono Trigger. And I'm like, they beat you to it, Square Enix. Like another company no one's ever heard of that's probably been working on this game for years, beat you to it. And how is that even possible? How? And you've got Parasite Eve. You've got so many other titles that Square Enix could be working on right now. I've got classic PS1 titles on my shelf that company needs to dust off and pay attention to, because it has a built-in fan base. People talk about, when they had to hit the emergency alarm for, the Final Fantasy VII Remake saga. There are other buttons you can press at that company, and they're just not. I don't know why they're spending money and dollars on all these projects that aren't working out. I'm not a Kingdom Hearts fan, but even Kingdom Hearts 4, it's like Final Fantasy VII Remake saga, finishing that should be priority number one. Number 1B should be getting Kingdom Hearts 4 out there, because that's your other big money maker. That's got such a devoted fan base. For those of you out there that are Kingdom Hearts fans, I see you. I understand. I'm not a fan, but I get it. I understand your fandom. I'm a fan of things that a lot of other people don't like, and that's fine. We don't have to all like the same things. I can respect the fact that title is a big money maker, and I can also see that Kingdom Hearts 3 was a big letdown. So I can see how Square Enix has been getting back to basics with the games they're focusing on. If you look at their focus on games, It's been, they got the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster out there to everyone finally. The Dragon Quest HD 2D remakes, and then the Dragon Quest 7 reimagined. This is a step in the right direction, and I'm willing to be patient with them now. I was losing patience with this company for a while because it felt like they were just putting out crap, really. They were just putting out a whole lot of crap, and I'll be honest with you. You can disagree with that take, I don't care. That's my take. They're putting out a lot of nonsense that, Valkyrie Elysium, when that game came out a few years ago, I was so excited because I loved the Valkyrie games on PS2. That game was not good. They put out that tactical RTS, like that tactical RPG game around the same time as Valkyrie Elysium. I forget what that was called. Something Chronicles or whatever. Looked like it was going to be good. Boring. Characters were flat, boring. It was not good. And then, they also released games like Star Ocean: The Divine Force, which I thought was one of the best games that company put out in years. Star Ocean: The Divine Force was better than Final Fantasy 15. It was better than Final Fantasy 16. And that's the other thing. The Final Fantasy mainline titles, 15, 16, were underwhelming. I enjoyed my time with 15. I understand why people didn't like it. I enjoyed my time with 16, but it was largely boring. That game was kind of boring, and I'm shocked to say that. I've said before, it felt like they were trying to write a Game of Thrones type story, but it was written by 12-year-olds who had never been in adult situations before. That's what it felt like. A lot of the adult situations they were going for a more mature audience, they felt flat. It felt like they never experienced an adult situation before. We'll put it that way. We'll leave it at that. Felt like it was written by kids who have watched movies, is what it felt like. So I feel like they're getting back to basics. Not a whole lot of games coming out right now is actually reassuring for me, because it tells me, until I'm proven otherwise, which that could happen too, it tells me they're trying to focus on what they do best, which is JRPGs, which is telling stories. Focus on telling stories. Get back to basics. And the games they're picking to remaster and reimagine and remake all point to, hey, we're getting back to storytelling. We want to get back to storytelling. They brought the Sandfall Interactive people in-house, and I'm sure that wasn't just a pleasure visit. I'm sure they were talking business. I think Final Fantasy 17 will return to turn-based action combat, and so it'll be a more turn-based leaning design based on what Rebirth Remake Saga does. I think it'll be that, but more leaning toward turn-based. I think it will. I just do, because Expedition 33 proved you can do it. It proved you can do it. And a lot of diehard Square Enix fans who have supported this company since the Super Nintendo era have really been wanting them to get back to kind of basics. You can do other games, you can do other titles, but the days of Square spreading themselves thin like they have been, I think those days are over. And I think that's why we're not seeing 5, 6, 7 titles a year coming out. They've got Nier. They've got the Nier franchise they can get back to. They've got, they got Parasite Eve. They've got so many RPGs from the classic era that they could go back to. The Chrono series. You put out 2 games. Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross. Both are excellent games. Say what you want to about Chrono Cross. That game is a classic. It is one of the best RPGs ever made. Bar none. I don't care what your opinion is on that. That is true. And people say that when they put the Chrono Cross remaster out, it underperformed. But every time a Square Enix game comes out, people complain about them underperforming. It is a niche audience. Square Enix makes games for a niche audience. And I think Square Enix is finally understanding that. I think they're the last ones to understand it. And I like Square Enix games being for a niche audience. It's not Call of Duty. It's never going to be Grand Theft Auto. It's never going to do those numbers, and it shouldn't. Their games shouldn't be doing those numbers. Because if they get to doing those numbers, they're probably dumbing their games down. And I don't want Square Enix to dumb their games down. I don't. I want big, immersive stories that you can get lost in for 40 to 50 hours. Complete escapism. That's what Square Enix does. That's what they make. That's what they're good at. And I think that's what they're getting back to. At least I hope, because their track record with trying to appeal to grander, bigger audiences and stuff, those games have not performed well. And there is math to that. There is analytics. There are analytics to be looked at, and you can decipher whatever you want to from those things. But I think Square Enix is cracking the code, their own code. They're getting back to making the games that they should be making. So I think within the next 5 years, we're going to see a refocus on Final Fantasy. We're going to see a refocus on the classic way they tell stories and games and build games. Kingdom Hearts, back to the fore. They're going to go back into Nier. I think Yoshi P is a great producer. I think he's a good director. I think he was kind of hamstringed with some of the stuff with 16. And I'm not into MMORPGs, so I'm not a 14 guy. I'm just not. But everybody raves about 14. I'm sure it's great. They retained a lot of the business they got when World of Warcraft went through their fallout in 2021, and Warcraft was hemorrhaging players. Those players had to go somewhere. They went to Final Fantasy XIV, and I think Square did a pretty good job, not an amazing job, but a pretty good job of retaining most of those WoW players. So a lot of those players went back to World of Warcraft, and they're always going back and forth. They're always having problems with that game too. So you'll see some gradient for the audience numbers between those two games, but largely that was what led to 14's boost. And then the Realm Reborn, when that came out, Yoshi P took over and was resurrecting that game from the abyss, because Final Fantasy XIV was DOA. Shortly after that game came out, it was not good. It was not good. So, and Final Fantasy XIV also benefits from being able to be updated monthly or as new things come out, and you're paying for it every month. So they've got Final Fantasy XIV money. They've got a golden goose that keeps laying eggs every month. So they've got access to this money. What are they doing with it? That's the point. I think they're trying to reestablish themselves with the classic fan base by putting out games like this. Simple. I'm really excited with where Square Enix is going, and I think the future is actually looking brighter for this company, because for a while it wasn't looking great. I mean, we've still got a lot of Square Enix pushing plushies and weird merch and stuff like that, and this was about 10 minutes of their Tokyo Game Show Square Enix Presents. This was about 10 minutes of it. So we still have a ways to go. We don't need to be spending stage time showing off this kind of stuff. We can be showing off new games, but let's get the new games in development. The last few years have been a whole lot of this and not enough of this. But I think we're getting back to it, so we'll see. Anyway, drop your comments below. Let me know what you think about all that, whether you agree, whether you disagree. I don't really care. If you agree, wonderful. If you don't, that's wonderful too. Anyway, you all have a great night. Be safe, be good to each other, keep rocking. I will see you all in the next video. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you later.